Hello, my friends, and we're going to talk about ETFs today because it's getting close. ETF mania is heating up, people. The SEC is actually in talks with Grayscale right now about converting them to an ETF. I think the SEC is finally folded like a leaf or folded like a piece of folding paper and are going to finally allow the ETFs. There is an 8-day window coming up right now, not next year, right now, where they could approve the ETF. I don't know how big the chances are if they're actually going to approve one, but it looks like it could be a big thing right now. ARK Invest, and we'll talk about this as well, are looking at other ETF products, possibly with altcoins. So those of you that invest in altcoins, like myself, that might be coming later. And they might not be talking about one specific altcoin ETF, but they might be talking about like a large scale fund or like a small cap fund or something like that. And if ARK is going to do it, you know that Grayscale wants to do it too. So next year, we could not only be getting multiple Bitcoin ETFs, an Ethereum ETF, but we could get multiple like large cap and small cap ETFs, not focused on one specific coin, but focused just over a broad range of assets. And that could bring money to all those assets. Bitcoin, of course, will be first because Bitcoin is always first, but don't count these other cryptos out. So let's actually look at this window of approving 12 spot Bitcoin ETFs. There are many outlets that are actually reporting this, CoinDesk, The Street, Cointelegraph, but we're actually going to look at it. So leading analysts say an 8-day window of approval of all pending spot ETFs opens tomorrow and will at least last 8 days. 50% chance that something gets approved within this window. I wouldn't put too much hopes on it because the SEC likes to delay and their final deadline would be January 10th. So what they're saying is, and I quote, a brief window opens on November 9th for the SEC to potentially approve all 12 US spot ETF applications, including Grayscale's GBTC, which they're obviously going to have to look at sooner or later because the court demands it. Wrote Bloomberg's James Seifert and Eric Balchunas, the two leading voices in the increasingly frantic watch for a spot Bitcoin ETF approval. It will be open for at least 8 days. So I don't really know why this window just opened, but it's open there and they have a chance to just like basically get all this out of the way. And I do think there is like a chance they approve it because they might want to approve it before a possible government shutdown. Remember, we have roughly 9 or 10 days left before the government shuts down. And I'm not really sure if any continuing resolutions will actually be passed. So analysts have actually predicted that a BlackRock approval could bring $200 billion to Bitcoin and bring the BTC price up to $330,000. I've made several videos on this. I don't think it'll bring it up to $330,000, even if you get that $200 billion to Bitcoin, because that will be dispersed over the next couple of years. And analysts, BlackRock themselves are predicting about 3 years for the $200 billion. 3 years for $200 billion, you got, several hundreds of millions per day. So that's still good for Bitcoin, obviously. But the thing is, like, it's not going to be all at once. So I do think like 150, maybe 180,000 will be the top for Bitcoin, even if the ETFs approve. And it's not only BlackRock, it's other crypto funds too, like Fidelity, etc. Obviously, the SEC is accessing its options. Gary Gensler really doesn't want to approve an ETF for some reason. But the thing is, he's running out of excuses. And of course, like experts are calling the inaction of the SEC a clear violation and an extension of its authority that it's overextending. So Gensler is not in a good spot right now, and I think he's going to have to give up his crusade against a Bitcoin spot ETF. And why this window is very interesting right now is because it's been reported that the US SEC is said open talks with Grayscale on spot Bitcoin ETF push. They've also released a video today, and they don't release these things until they're about ready to approve the ETF. And of course, reps of the company are answering questions from two divisions of the US SEC in the wake of Grayscale's court win over the agency, which happened a couple of months ago. And the court is now pressing the SEC to accept an ETF. And they have open talks with Grayscale Investments on the details of the company's application to convert it into its trust product, GBTC, to a spot ETF, the first one ever. And of course, if the SEC allows this, obviously they're not going to cock block like BlackRock, Fidelity, all those others, because they work for the fat cats and they don't want GBTC to be the only thing out on the market. So an SEC approval of one or more ETF applications is keenly awaited for by the sector, which sees that moment as a milestone that could ease everyone's investors' path to digital assets. Grayscale has been in contact with both the SEC's Division of Trading and Markets and the Division of Corporate Finance since winning its court fight, said the person who requested anonymity because of talks remain private. So obviously this one is from Coindesk.com. Many other outlets have actually reported on this. But yes, they are meeting with Grayscale right now. This is a much, much bigger step than they've ever taken with any other ETF applicant. Mainly like in the past, before the court order came down and they didn't have to approve an ETF, what they did was like, yeah, let's think about it. And then about 2 days before, they're like, no, we're not going to actually approve this ETF. But now, since they got a fire lit under their ass, both by their corporate masters over at BlackRock and Fidelity, and of course by the courts themselves, they can't really deny it anymore. And of course, I do think this will spur more buying for the sector. Now, I had a person bet me about an hour and a half ago that in 2 hours, we were going to be pushing $36,500. Of course, that's not going to happen. And he said he would donate me $100. I'm not really sure if he's actually going to do that or if he's actually going to come back tonight. But either way, $36,500 is going to happen sooner or later. It might not happen like in half an hour, but it will actually happen sooner or later. And that's going to be really, really good for the crypto market. Obviously, I think we're breaking 40,000 on this ETF. We might go down a little bit once the ETF is initially accepted, but afterwards, we're definitely going to go up as the money flows in. $200 billion, even if it's over 3 years, is a lot to pour into crypto. And once you get past resistances, $1 invested could be $10, $20 of increase in crypto price. So right now, we're looking very, very bullish. So they're saying like right now, we're just laser focused on constructively engaging with trading and markets. And that he didn't expand on the details of the interaction. So they are like questioning, they're putting up questions. Grayscale is giving answers. I think the SEC is still trying to delay it as much as possible, but their time is coming and Gary Gensler is going to get its comeuppance in court or in Congress. Because congressmen in the courts are not pleased with Gary Gensler. And I think Gensler actually knows this. And he knows that if he gets another lawsuit up his ass, he is not going to win this particular lawsuit. Because everyone knows that crypto is the future, and Gary Gensler cannot actually change that. And like the rapidly evolving technology is going to be central to Grayscale's application, and I think they basically have this wrapped up in the bag that they are going to launch an ETF very, very soon. So it's definitely not a coincidence that Grayscale is meeting with the SEC right when this window is opening up, and if the window doesn't open up, we don't really know when they're going to approve it because the government could actually shut down in as little as 9 days. Remember, the continuing resolution from October doesn't actually last past mid-November. So hopefully we can actually get this stuff going. I actually don't really care too much if the government shuts down or not at this point. But I do care if they actually allow this ETF to pass before then. So hopefully they can get something done because of the pressures that are actually being directed at Gary Gensler. And of course, ARK Invest is launching a new suite of digital asset ETFs with 21 shares. And obviously, like they're not really looking at it like an XRP fund or a Cardano fund or a Solana fund. They're looking at combined funds. So they're basically like, they want to give, and I quote, a robust set of options for introducing exposure to digital assets into a portfolio. And these ETFs will be listed on Chicago Board Options Exchange or CBOE according to prospectuses. But I think what they're talking about is just like an overall like conglomerate fund of the major crypto coins. Like I think there'll be some Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Cardano, Solana. I think a lot of these cryptos are going to be part of that index, and it's just going to be more of a composite for all of crypto. But that's really, really good. Having a large cap fund will get money flowing to things other than Bitcoin and Ethereum. I just hope the vast majority of the large cap fund is not Bitcoin and Ethereum itself. People need more exposure to the other cryptos to get a real sense of the crypto market and where it's going, because I do not think Bitcoin is the future, and I don't really think Ethereum is the future either. So I do want a crypto large cap fund to get people exposed to these assets. And so what ARK is doing is really good. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.